stay connected with the world through WION. Like the page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts. Instagram for videos and images. And the website for the latest news, views, and analysis. WIONews.com. World is one.
Прямых контактов со сверстниками, неформального дружеского общения, свободного от идеологических и политических барьеров, расовых и религиозных предрассудков. Общение, объединяющего молодое поколение вокруг идеи прочного и устойчивого мира, процветания и созидания. Мы будем рады видеть делегации из стран ШОС на этом всемирном празднике молодости и дружбы. Уважаемые друзья, не может не вызывать удовлетворение, что авторитет и влияние нашего объединения продолжают укрепляться. Растет интерес к его деятельности со стороны других государств и международных структур. Многие из них стремятся к налаживанию равноправного диалога с ШОС и рассматривают возможность подключения к ее работе. Нам доверяют, с нами хотят дружить и сотрудничать. В нашей организации теперь в полноправном формате будет участвовать Исламская Республика Иран. И хочу искренне поздравить с этим и от души поприветствовать президента Ирана господина Раиси. Менее чем за 2 года иранские партнеры завершили все необходимые процедуры, и теперь наша общая задача – помочь коллегам эффективно встроиться в ведущуюся в рамках Шанхайской организации многоплановую работу. Россия также выступает за скорейшее завершение процесса вступления в ШОС Республики Беларусь. Убеждены, что членство Беларуси, которое является стратегическим партнером и ближайшим союзником России, позитивно скажется на деятельности объединения. Разумеется, самого внимательного и конструктивного отношения требует рассмотрение всего, кстати, довольно солидного портфеля заявок и от других государств, желающих в том или ином качестве сотрудничать с нашей организацией. И коллеги только что об этом говорили. В заключение хотел бы пожелать успехов президенту Казахстана Касым-Жомарту Кемелевичу Токаеву и казахским друзьям, которым после нынешнего саммита переходят функции председателя в организации. Безусловно, уважаемый господин президент Казахстана, можете рассчитывать на необходимое содействие с российской стороны. Благодарю вас за внимание.
Президент Путин,
я очень признателен вам за ваше позитивное выступление. И сейчас я приглашаю президента Республики Таджикистан и моего друга, его правительства, Эмомали Рахмона, выступить перед нами. Пожалуйста.
Уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги, прежде всего хотел бы поздравить наших индийских друзей и лично премьер-министра Республики Индия господина Нарендру Моди с успешным председательством страны Шанхайской организации сотрудничества. Таджикистан высоко оценивает усилия индийской стороны по наращиванию многопрофильного взаимодействия в рамках ШОС по всем направлениям его повестки. Уважаемые коллеги, современный мир...
To WION live broadcast from London, I'm Oliver Regan. The UK government's illegal migration bill has suffered several defeats in the House of Lords. Members of the upper house voted to limit the time of detention for children and pregnant women. The peers also backed the prevention of deportation of LGBTQ plus people to a country where they may face persecution. This latest vote comes after 4 defeats last week. The upper house challenged the bill on the grounds of modern slavery safeguards, a bar on backdating deportations and asylum help for unaccompanied children. A move was backed by the Lords by 204 votes to 168, which aims to force the UK Home Secretary Suella Braverman to consider asylum claim by migrants coming in from illegal routes within 6 months. If the asylum seekers are not removed from the UK by that time, members also backed the restrictions of removal of unfavourable destinations for LGBTQ plus people. Former Conservative Foreign Minister Liz Suggs said the amendments will have a big impact on women's health and futures. A Liberal Democrat peer said detentions is no place for pregnant women. Meanwhile, the crossings by illegal migrants on small boats have reached a new record. In June, the total had crossed 3,800 people. Government figures suggest in the first 6 months of 2023, around 11,400 people were detected making the journey from France. The UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has made stopping the boats as one of his main priorities. And a lack of action from the Conservative Party has irritated some of its members. A new group of Conservative MPs has warned Sunak over the growing numbers of migrants. As they say, Sunak risks damaging cultural security and faces defeat at the next general election. Well, for more on this, we're joined by Nicholas Nugent, senior journalist and former BBC editor, joining us live from London. Thanks very much for joining us, Nicholas. Just how significant is this defeat in the Lords?
I think quite a lot, given the context. After all, the government have been defeated with its plan to deport illegal immigrants, that's to say people arriving by boats, to Rwanda, firstly by the European Court of Human Rights, then last week by the British Court of Appeal, now in the House of Lords. It's all on slightly different issues. The House of Lords has picked on some very specific points, but it's finding so much opposition to this bill that it's difficult to guess whether it will ever become law. Odds on it won't, and the government will have to find another way to try to cope with illegal immigration, which is undoubtedly a big problem. But immigration in general is such a hot topic because the very day that the House of Lords defeated, or not defeated, let's qualify this, it voted in favour of a number of amendments which really makes holes in the bill as it was presented to the House of Lords. The House of Lords being the senior, like your, sorry, I've just forgotten the name of the senior house in India, but it has to go back to the House of Commons, but they either have to accept the amendments that the House of Lords have made or present the bill again. In other words, it's a complicated constitutional process. So the very day that happened, a little faction within the ruling Conservative Party voted for a much stronger policy against immigration in general. They wanted to bring down the net immigration, that's to say the numbers of people arriving in Britain, reduced by the numbers of people leaving Britain. They wanted to bring it down from 600,000 a year to 200,000 a year, which would need some very drastic measures on the part of the government. So in a nutshell, Britain's immigration policy at the moment is in a bit of a mess, with opposition to it coming from a number of different quarters. And it would take a very skilled government to find a way through that and restore the measures that they want to introduce, in particular this policy of deporting illegal immigrants to Rwanda. That really does seem to have a lot of holes in it now. It's difficult to see how the government will persevere and make that happen.
Nicholas Nugent, senior journalist and former BBC editor, many thanks for joining us there. China is accusing the United Kingdom of sheltering fugitives. Beijing spokesperson in London said that British politicians were openly offering to protect fugitives. The activists fled Hong Kong after a new national security law was imposed in the country. The activists were part of the 2019 pro-democratic protests, which were subsequently squashed. John Lee, the chief executive of Hong Kong, came out strongly in favour of the activists' arrest, and he stated that Hong Kong shall pursue them for the rest of their lives. Hong Kong is also offering over $100,000 as a bounty for each activist's arrest.
危害國家安全係嚴重嘅罪行，特區政府執法必嚴，追捕危害國家安全嘅罪犯，政府會用盡一切合法嘅手段，竭盡所能追究到底，會終身追究佢哋嘅法律責任，無論佢哋走到天涯海角，我哋都會終身追捕呢啲罪犯嘅。
The United States and the United Kingdom have categorically opposed Hong Kong's move. Now, Australia has also joined in and also extended support to the activists. As per reports, 2 of the 8 activists are suspected to be in Australia. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong warned against anyone taking up the cash bounty and hit back against Hong Kong. Meanwhile, the exiled activists say that they predicted this reaction from Hong Kong and that it was only a matter of time till they were hunted down.
I've expected that they would manage to do whatever ways there are to silence us. So I didn't feel shocked for too long. Mostly I just thought, oh, okay, now I have to think of my physical safety more. I have to think of upgrading my security. But other than that, I don't think I have been extremely emotional or shocked about it.
Well, for more on this story, our correspondent Alex Isaac joins us live from London. And Alex, this is developing into quite the diplomatic incident. What's the latest from London?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You're right there. Now, there has been a bit of a to-do with China and the CCP over the past couple of years. We saw last year the protests in Manchester and, of course, outside many of the embassies within the UK. So James Cleverly has put out a statement, the government has had a statement that the UK will not be intimidated. Now, there is no extradite to China from the UK, but it could well be that even though the UK says they are not harbouring any fugitives, that those 3, at least out of the 8 that you mentioned there, won't be able to travel freely. But there is a bit of an odds around China and the UK, because obviously we have seen as well a lot of investment has gone into China from the UK, and we are integrated in many other ways as well. So there does seem to be many people are suggesting that the UK government isn't quite as hard as it should be on China. We've had again with the secret police stations that supposedly are in the UK, and as I mentioned, the multiple embassies as well. Now, China has said there's £100,000 bounty on these 3 specifically that are in the UK, and they're asking for anybody to come forward if they have any information. Now, they are using Interpol as one of their red notices, as it's called, to ask the government, the UK, to bring these people forward. Now, Interpol shouldn't be used as a political pawn, but sadly it does seem that way. It's been given red notices from China to the UK since Britain gave back Hong Kong back 26 years ago this month, in fact. So it does feel that there are very much tenuous links between the UK and China, and this is also not going to be doing anyone any favours if it comes to these at least three of these 8 people going back. If they are extradited back to China, what will happen to them then? Government officials in Hong Kong have said that they are a serious security issue for them, and they do need them back in the country. But of course, Britain says they're not going to extradite them at this point.
Correspondent Alex Isaac joining us live from London. Many thanks for your insight. A Cabinet Office-led investigation has found that former civil servant Sue Gray breached the Civil Service Code by discussing a role with Labour leader Keir Starmer without informing her bosses. The Cabinet Office and Minister Jeremy Quinn said the inquiry found a breach of the code about outside interests to be clear and transparent, while adding that individuals must declare all relevant outside interests to their immediate manager as soon as they appear. Last week, the Advisory Committee on Business Appointments said it had been given no evidence that Gray breached the code. According to reports, the Cabinet Office resisted making the findings of the probe public, as officials argue staffing matters should be kept confidential. The Labour Party has described the whole issue as a political stunt. Sue Gray led the Partygate report, which became one of the major reasons for the exit of former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson from Number 10. Labour leader Keir Starmer approached Gray in October 2022. However, Gray informed the Cabinet Office only in March 2023. Through news of joining the Labour Party as Starmer's Chief of Staff became public.
What understeps? Oh, you sure?
London's anti-air pollution plan is set to expand to the less connected outer boroughs next month, and not everybody is happy about it. So the plan will face a test in court today. A group of local governments claim the decision to expand it is flawed and unlawful. The existing ultra-low emission zone, the ULEZ plan, is restricted to London's inner roads. The scheme, introduced in 2019, requires more polluting vehicles to pay a $16 toll when they're driven within inner London. The expansion plan, put forward by London Mayor Sadiq Khan, is to extend this zone to the city's less connected outer boroughs. This will encompass 5 million extra people, making it the largest such scheme in Europe. The expansion plan triggered a massive environment versus economy debate amongst Londoners, with health campaigners pointing to the initial success of the ULEZ scheme, whereas others say they can't tolerate another economic hit at a time of soaring inflation. Despite criticism, the Mayor Khan remains confident that expanding ULEZ will lead to 5 million more Londoners breathing cleaner air. He says the scheme is needed to tackle air pollutants. Mayor Khan is speaking here.
To be quite honest, I think that Mayor Khan's being dreadfully unfair on expanding this zone. He's also been very unfair in the way he's applying it. He's saying that 4,000 lives a year are lost through pollution in London, and it's a lie. The UK Health Security Agency has already looked into this and said there is no truth in his claim.
It's absolutely critical that even in a cost of living crisis, we do not kick the can of air pollution down the road and let more children grow up unhealthy and unwell.
How much do billionaires earn? How much do they earn each day? Well, some of these billionaires are earning more in a day than some people earn in their entire lifetimes. And it's great to be a billionaire in 2023. More so if you're among the top 500 in the world, which added $852 billion to their fortunes in the first 6 months of this year. Each member of the Bloomberg Billionaires Index made an average of $14 million per day in the first half of 2023. It was the best half year for billionaires since July to December 2020, when the economy rebounded after a COVID slump. The rise in billionaire wealth can be attributed to the broad rally in stock markets. That's despite the hike in interest rates, the ongoing Ukraine war and an economic slowdown. The S&P 500 rose 16% and the Nasdaq 100 surged 39% for its best ever first half, as investor mania over AI boosted tech stocks. While Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg flirt with scheduling a cage match, Tesla's owner came out on the top in the half-yearly billionaire list. Musk, who is the world's richest person added $96.6 billion to his net worth. On the other hand, Meta CEO Zuckerberg gained $58.9 billion. Tennis star Roger Federer made a surprise appearance at a Coldplay concert in Zurich. We'll watch our next story for more details.
On WION's climate tracker today, rainforests continue to bleed despite promises by world leaders to halt and reverse deforestation by 2030. London's expanding clean air zone sparks economy versus environment row. Volker Turk, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, warns that climate crisis is fueling global hunger. On WION's climate tracker at these times.
आने वाली खुशी के लिए एक ख्याल ही काफी है। ईबिक्स कैश हर खुशी के लिए काफी है। कभी कभी खुशी के लिए एक उदाहरण ही काफी है। ईबिक्स कैश हर खुशी के लिए काफी है।
ULEZ Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to ULEZ Health Resort. Make your reservation at ULEZ.com.
After the collapse of the Kherson Dam and the deluge caused, fighting intensifies between the Ukrainian and the Russian forces. As the much talked about Ukrainian counter-offensive seems to be getting underway, France, Germany and Poland firm up talks on the security guarantees Ukraine desperately needs. All eyes are now on NATO leaders' July summit in the Lithuanian capital. Will it focus on Ukraine's push for accession to NATO?
Who will be the next US president? As Trump gears up to take on Biden, his deputy Pence calls him unfit. But it's DeSantis who is drumming up support. A dozen Republicans in the fray and counting. Will a crowded contest benefit Trump? Race for the White House on WION. World is One.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.